Welcome to Shadowproof. Evidence first, noise last.
Today, we will introduce to everyone a world-famous prophecy, the third prophecy of Fatima. And about 100 years ago, on May 13, 1917, in a village called Fatima in Portugal, an unbelievable event occurred. There were 3 children, the oldest being a 10-year-old girl named Lucia, her 8-year-old cousin Francisco, and her 7-year-old cousin Jacinta. These 3 children were herding sheep together. Suddenly, something strange happened to the flock. The sheep all froze, standing still, lowering their heads. Just as the children were puzzled, the sky suddenly turned purple, like thunder, and as they looked up, they saw a glowing sphere appear. From within this glowing sphere, a woman appeared. The woman was dressed in white, looking extremely gentle, kind, approachable, and felt like an angel. The families of these 3 children were religious, being devout Catholics, so they had seen statues of the Virgin Mary. According to their description, this woman looked exactly like the Virgin Mary. The 3 children were so scared at the time that they didn't dare speak or move, standing still in place. "Do not be afraid, I have come from heaven. You 3 must come here on the 13th of each month for the next 6 months. Moreover, starting today, you must pray the Rosary every day." The Rosary is the prayer of those who venerate the Virgin Mary, praying for world peace and an end to the current war. In 1917, it was during the time of the First World War. As soon as she finished speaking, this woman disappeared. "Wow, today we encountered something big, we saw a deity." And then the 3 children agreed that this was their secret and not to tell anyone. From then on, every 13th, they would come here to meet the Virgin Mary. "Today I saw an angel." An event like this, for a religious family, is a big deal. Of course, for those without faith, they might think the children were making it up. So this girl's parents took her to find Lucia. Lucia also admitted that indeed, the 3 of them had seen the Virgin Mary that day. According to the youngest girl, she saw an angel, meaning the descriptions of the 3 children were not the same. Actually, she didn't. One thought it was the Virgin Mary, another thought it was an angel. People in religious circles believe that for deities, the Virgin Mary, or angels to appear before ordinary humans is an extremely significant event. They usually only appear before saints, so the parents of these children were very skeptical of their words, thinking they were lying. They didn't understand why an angel or the Virgin Mary would appear to their children. In fact, they didn't feel it was an honor but rather found it very frightening. "T believe you, they." However, this matter quickly spread, and another month passed in half belief and half doubt. On June 13th, at the same time, these 3 children ran to that place again to meet the Virgin Mary. The parents of these children and even some relatives who had heard about the incident went along. In total, about 50 people came. This time, the 3 children met the Virgin Mary again. However, the over 50 people around did not see her. They only saw the 3 children. But some people said they felt some very strange sensations. "We hope to go to heaven with you. Can you take us along? Your brother and sister." "But you." After saying this, the girl Lucia was very sad, and the Virgin Mary immediately disappeared. Each time the Virgin Mary spoke a few words, it wasn't, and the 3rd time was on July 13th, which was extremely important. Because this time it relates to the 3rd secret of Fatima that I mentioned earlier. In this meeting, the Virgin Mary showed the 3 children some scenes. That is, with a wave of her hand, a screen like a TV appeared in front of them. These were scenes of war, explosions, and people dying everywhere. After showing these scenes, the Virgin Mary said to the 3 children, "Tell everyone that if humans do not reflect, the current war will escalate even more severely. Moreover, the scenes you just saw will become reality." Hearing this, many might think, isn't this putting the children in a difficult position? T believe it, why not tell the priests directly? Wouldn't. Why did you appear to us? You will become my messengers. During this process, the children asked the Virgin Mary if she could show herself a little to the people around, to prove that what they were saying was true. I cannot appear before them because I do not trust humans. And after saying these words, the Virgin Mary showed Lucia a separate segment, which is the third secret. Actually, the earlier scenes belong to the first two secrets, and this final revelation is the third secret. After the revelation was shown and Lucia had seen it, the Virgin Mary said privately to Lucia, "Do not tell anyone about the scene you just witnessed until the day I say you can speak, then you may speak." After that, this matter spread wider and wider, and on the 13th of every month, many people gathered to watch, even disturbing the local government and the Holy See in Rome. Both the government and the Holy See sent people to their home. After listening to the descriptions from these three children, whether it was the government or the bishop sent by the Holy See, none believed that what the three children said was true. However, what these three children said was identical, and there was no way to prove otherwise. Even the parents of these three children did not believe their words were true. So in reality, these three children endured immense pressure from society. After that, the government arrested these three children and interrogated them using sometimes they brought delicious food for the children to eat, then asked about the events, questioning them separately. No matter how they were questioned, all three children said exactly the same thing. Moreover, they insisted that they had definitely seen it and were not lying. The interrogation yielded no results, so the government had no. However, they came up with a trick. It happened to be almost August 13th, which was the fourth meeting, so the government detained them until after the 13th before releasing them. This way, they did not meet the Virgin Mary. In fact, they missed one meeting because of this. As a result, on September 13th, over 30,000 people came to watch, to see the three children talking to the air. The last time, on October 13th, was also the largest, with a total of 70,000 people attend. This figure of 70,000 is not made up, because the 70,000 people gathered included individuals from various sectors of society, as well as reporters from different radio stations and newspapers, such as bankers, government employees, and even skeptics came to watch. Many people took photographs, and in the presence of these 70,000 people, a miracle occurred. On this October 13th, dark clouds gathered and heavy rain fell from early morning. In the afternoon, at the time of the meeting with the Virgin Mary, the dark clouds dispersed. After the sky cleared and the clouds vanished, the Virgin Mary appeared before the three children, while the remaining 70,000. The words I speak now, you must convey directly to the people around you. I am the Virgin Mary. At this very place, where the Virgin Mary has appeared, build a large church, recite the rosary every day, and pray for world peace. Do not let the Lord suffer more hardships. Your war will end soon. After relaying the message, everyone looked up at the sun. The sun was shimmering, and it was moving. Some said it was spinning, emitting multicolored light, while everyone was looking at the sun and feeling, "Oh, what is happening to the sun?" And when these people felt the heat and thought it had reached them, it turned back, and then everything returned to normal. At this point, the Virgin Mary also disappeared. The next day, all major newspapers in Portugal featured this event. They described a sun that suddenly fell and then returned. Some said the sun was shimmering, others said it was dancing up and down, emitting dazzling light. It felt like a large-scale magic show performed in front of 70,000 people. The children looked at the sun, and as a result, the sun began to shine bright, so everyone was astonished. At that time, many people knelt down as if they had witnessed a divine miracle. Many scientists also observed this phenomenon. It could be due to atmospheric refraction creating a kind of supernatural phenomenon. However, they did not understand how these three children could accurately predict this miraculous supernatural. This event had never occurred before. People had never seen the sun like that. Yet these three children predicted it so accurately. That is, on that 13th day, the children looked up at the sun. Everyone who looked up saw the same. What was the Holy See's attitude toward this event? They acknowledged that a supernatural phenomenon had occurred, but they did not acknowledge the type of miracle where the Virgin Mary appears to individuals like this. That is, if she appears, it should be in public for everyone to see. This is what the Holy See found very problematic. They have such authority, yet they cannot connect with God? Why connect with three children? They felt embarrassed. The Virgin Mary say she would take Lucia. 2 years after the Fatima event, Lucia's brother and sister both fell ill and died. The only survivor was Lucia, who lived to be 97 years old and passed away in 2005. So after Lucia's siblings passed away, the only person in the world who knew the scenes or events with the Virgin Mary was essentially just Lucia. Based on the description of the entire event, there were a total of 3 prophecies in it. The first 2 secrets when the little shepherdess Lucia grew up to become a nun were written down by her in her memoirs. In the first prophecy, the Virgin Mary showed the 3 children a vision of hell. They saw an endless sea of fire, with devils and human souls submerged in it, screaming and writhing in agony and despair. This terrified the children so much fortunately, the Virgin reassured them, promising they would go to heaven, which calmed them. The Virgin said Lucia would remain longer on earth and would bring Jacinta and Francisco back to heaven first. Indeed, the 2 children later died from illness during the Spanish flu outbreak in 1919, while Lucia remained unharmed. The second prophecy related to World War II. The Virgin told Lucia that World War I would end, but if people did not cease actions that angered God, more severe wars would break out during the pontificate of Pope Pius XI. If one night people saw the sky illuminated by a rare light, it would be a sign from God as a warning. Indeed, World War II erupted during the pontificate of Pope Pius XI. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, a very rare aurora occurred across northern Europe. Perhaps this was the sign the Virgin had spoken of. At that time, newspapers also reported on this rare aurora. What does the third prophecy reveal? Lucia said the Virgin instructed not to reveal it until 1960. However, in 1943, Lucia fell seriously ill. Bishop Larradieu was sent to visit her, hoping Lucia could write down the third prophecy. In case she passed away, it would never be revealed. Lucia hesitated for a long time, but finally, following the bishop's order, she handed the envelope with the third secret to Bishop Larradieu in June 1944. And it wasn't sent to Rome until 1957. Time quickly reached 1960, when people expected the Holy See to disclose the third secret, but the Holy See decided not to. This decision led to a hijacking incident. On May 2, 1981, a very important event related to the third prophecy occurred. That day, a plane from Ireland to England was involved. As the plane was about to land, suddenly a 55-year-old Australian passenger hijacked it, demanding it divert to France. After the plane landed at Le Bourget Airport, France, the hijacker threw a false declaration of war from the cockpit. Its main content was a demand for the Vatican leader to immediately publicize the content of the third prophecy of Fatima. This hijacking lasted 10 hours. Finally, a hijacker was subdued by a disguised assault team posing as medics. Subsequent investigation revealed the Australian hijacker had previously worked as a tour guide in Portugal. He was very interested in the Fatima prophecies and, unable to restrain his curiosity, ultimately hijacked the plane. One of his goals was to force the Vatican to disclose the third secret of Our Lady of Fatima. It wasn't until 2000, entering the new century, that the Holy See, under great pressure worldwide, Pope John Paul II decided to reveal the content of the third prophecy of Fatima, roughly indicating the Pope would. In fact, in 1981, precisely on May 13, 10 days after the hijacking incident, which coincidentally was the day the 3 children in Fatima first met the Virgin Mary, Pope John Paul II was the same Pope who publicly announced the content of the third prophecy of Fatima in 2000. While standing on a slowly moving jeep in St. Peter's Square, he was shot by a Turkish assassin. He was hit by 2 bullets but luckily avoided vital areas, with no life-threatening. The Holy See once interpreted the third prophecy as referring to the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. However, because this third prophecy was highly anticipated for 83 years, why would it only be a prophecy related to an individual pope? Many people felt that the Virgin's prophecy should have global significance, and the Holy See's interpretation seemed too simplistic and narrow. If that were truly the case, why would the Holy See keep this secret for so many years? People believe either they weren't telling the truth, or only part was disclosed, with some content hidden. Most importantly, in the public prophecy of 2000, Lucia, by then very old at 92, said this was not the third prophecy I gave to the Pope. After she said this, the Pope was very embarrassed and personally went to speak with Lucia. Finally, the 2 reached a reconciliation. Coincidentally, on May 13, 1990, Father Galpin in Italy also received a revelation from the Virgin Mary. Sounds from the Virgin Mary. That the church would undergo the most severe period of religious hatred. Evil individuals would infiltrate the church's interior, and true believers would face trials and severe tests. Humanity would have to endure severe divine punishment, from which the world would be pure, hoping everyone prepare well to welcome the advent of the Holy Lord. Afterward, combining these three prophecies, people believe that the Virgin Mary gave a great prophecy about the end times. That is the decline of religion, the rise of true faith, the global great elimination, and the final redemption. This may explain why the Holy See announced the secret of Fatima. In reality, the divine remains divine. It's just that religion, originally holy and was connected to the divine. Some churches in the West and temples in the East have undergone a similar process of decline.
If the proof convinced you, subscribe and open the next case.